Welcome to the Line Life Podcast. I'm Jeff Postlethwaite, Senior Editor of T&D World, and today we're bringing you more stories of the grit, courage, and inspirational teamwork that it takes to be a line worker.
Hi, this is Amy Fishbach, Field Editor for T&D World magazine and host of the Line Life Podcast. Before we dive into our episode for today, I'd love to invite you to become part of our Line Life Podcast community by going to linelife.podbean.com and clicking follow in the top right. You can also subscribe to our podcast in your favorite podcasting app. If you have a comment on this episode or know of a guest that we should feature on a future episode of the Line Life Podcast, please email me at euoeditor@endeavorb2b.com. You can also reach out to me on social media. T&D World is on Instagram at Lineman World, at TD World Mag, and EUO Editor on X, and also on Facebook and LinkedIn. We drop new episodes every Friday with interview-style episodes the first and third Fridays of each month, and narrated audio stories from T&D World's print magazine in our In Case You Missed It series on the second and fourth Fridays of each month. Since we launched the Line Life Podcast a few years ago, we have aired more than 100 episodes, and I featured interviews with everyone from apprentices just starting out their careers in the line trade to journeyman line workers who have spent their careers out on the line. I've also explored topics like veterans who transitioned to careers in the line trade, women in line work, and also safety and storm response. I've also featured some line workers who have really inspired the line trade and made an impact on their communities through our Lighting the Way Through the Line Trade series, and also some inventors who have come up with some field tools to help line workers solve problems through our Problem Solver series. You can go back and listen to all these past episodes at linelife.podbean.com, including an episode featuring a podcaster named David Mendonca of the Show Up Dad Foundation, who I met at the International Lineman's Expo a few years ago. And then last year, I met another fellow podcaster, Ryan Lucas, host of the Powerline Podcast, and he's a journeyman line worker from Canada who uses the power of podcasting to share his stories with the line trade. This podcast, which is powered by Quanta, is available on all the major platforms, including YouTube. Before I feature my interview with Ryan, I'd like to give you a little bit of background on him from his Powerline Podcast website. He spent his whole life around tradesmen, and as a kid, he listened to their stories. And as a lineman, he has a few stories of his own. He says tradesmen are a special breed, and their bonds are formed through long hours and intense and complex work and high-risk environments. Their crew becomes their family. Some of them are nomads, some of them are thrill seekers, but all of them are here to get the job done. Bad weather, rough terrain, dizzying heights, long hours, they've seen it all and keep right on working. He says he loves the trades, and his job as a lineman has taken him all over the world and introduced him to fantastic people. He started the Powerline Podcast to preserve the history of trade work by recording and sharing stories and giving back to the community that has given so much to him. He says that his podcast, which is available on all the major platforms, including YouTube, is built on grit, hard work, and good times. And if you want to see a vlog of Ryan exploring the International Lineman's Expo, you can go to our website at tdworld.com/podcasts. Now I'm excited to share my interview that I had with Ryan on the show floor in the T&D World booth at the Lineman's Expo. Ryan, thank you so much for joining us today for the Line Life Podcast. It's great to have you with us today.
Yeah, absolutely. Welcome.
So, Ryan, first of all, can you talk about your Powerline Podcast and what inspired you to start it?
I'm a second-generation lineman from British Columbia, Canada, and I grew up around linemen. My father, like I said, lineman, owned a small power line company, so really just grew up around linemen, listening to their stories, spending a lot of time with them. So once I became a lineman myself, I started accumulating stories for myself and was like, I want to capture these because you do really unique work, visit cool places, meet cool people, all that sort of stuff. I wanted to capture that in some sort of way. I wasn't a fantastic writer at the time, so I was like, hey, what better way to do than just start interviewing people,
Sure.
recording those stories, and then sharing them with people. So that's kind of how Powerline Podcast started.
Perfect. And how can you talk a little bit about your career in the line trade for our Line Life podcast listeners?
Oh, man. Like I said, I'm from British Columbia, Canada. So very remote work, mountainous work, a lot of winter work. And I spent 15 years on the tools as a lineman, about 5 years in management, did some instructing, barehand instructing line school students, and then moved into this podcast stuff. So I've had a lot of diversity in the trade. But like on the tools work, I was really able to check off the bucket list of things I wanted to do in the trade over those 15 years. So like I said, barehand line work, got to that, lots of helicopter work, lots of distribution work in urban cities, remote urban environment, winter, summer, like all real wide range of stuff. Yeah. A few hurricane jobs as well.
So talk a little bit about your helicopter work. How did you enjoy working out of a helicopter?
It's like one of those things when you're young that you just like want to do. Especially I find linemen have that adventurous side, a little bit of like the thrill seeking side. When I was young, I really had a lot of that. I've always had a heart for like mountaineering and stuff like that as well. Wanted to climb the tallest mountains in the world. Didn't really do that, kind of parked that dream when I had kids, but I fulfilled that dream through line work, climbing tall towers and flying around on the bottom of a rope, but under a helicopter. So the heli experience is super cool. It's something I encourage people to do and pursue if it's, something that excites them. But like, yeah, I don't know. You get older in life and you realize that it's not that it's like, it's riskier, but you just like look at risk a little bit different. And it's not that it's unsafe or anything. It's extremely safe. It's a great practice, great way to do things in the job, but I just look at it a little differently now, and I don't know if I do the same things I did in my younger years now.
And what about barehand work?
Oh, barehand works. It's extremely unique. It's still an up-and-coming technology that I think everybody should be looking at, and I call it a technology because it really is. It's extremely safe, extremely good way to do work in the line trade. I know you have to treat it differently. You have to like train for it better, like take it a little more serious, that sort of thing, because when things go wrong, if they do go wrong, you usually don't get too many second chances with it. But like I said, if you train for it, prepare for it, use the proper tools, safety measures, all that kind of stuff, it can really be beneficial.
And Ryan, now I'd like to talk to you about storms.
Sure.
Is there a storm that really stands out to you during your career?
A couple hurricanes back in the day. It was a few years ago now, but Sandy and Irene on the East Coast here mainly hit Massachusetts, Connecticut, New York. I participated in those directly. What I really liked about storm work was, like, I'm from the west coast of Canada, so we come to Connecticut, and Connecticut's like a really old state, right? Like, it's got a lot of history. And what I liked personally about it was, other than all of those things that linemen say they like about helping people and getting the power back on, restoring the power, all that sort of stuff. I love that, but I really liked how I could really explore places. Like, you almost get this ticket to go on to these amazing old properties. Just the ticket is flick those little orange strobe lights on and roll in a bucket truck, and you get to like experience places that you'd never get to go to. So that personally, as like a lineman, was really cool because, you just drop into the East Coast one day and you get to explore all these really unique old properties and see some really cool stuff, while also having the benefits of, helping people and putting the power back on and all that sort of stuff.
That's really cool. And then what are some other highlights of your career in the line trade?
Honestly, more present sort of highlights are being able to give back and being able to help people, being able to help the new up-and-comers in the trade, and just being an influence. Now, it's more about giving back for me now than it is about receiving anything. Like, in the past, when I was young, it was like, what could I do for me? Like I said, I had this bucket list of things I needed to check off that I wanted to do in the trade. I really feel like I fulfilled that. And now I just really want to give back. So that's one thing I loved about instructing. One thing I love about doing the podcast full time now is just trying to give back to the people coming in and the people spending their time doing it now each and every day. So, yeah.
So, Ryan, what was on your bucket list for the line trade?
Heli work, like barehand work, travel. That's one thing about the trade that I talk about quite a bit on the podcast is it's really a dial that you can turn. So if you would like to dial back and stay more local and be home with your family and that sort of thing, you can do that in this trade. You can find a utility job or these sorts of things, stay more local. But if you want to explore, you want to have a bucket list of things you want to do, helicopter work, transmission work, large scale projects, travel, all those sorts of things, you can crank that dial the other way and you can pursue those things. That's one of the beautiful things about this trade and this industry that you don't get with a lot of other industries. Like you don't get that in a lot of the other trades even. It's not as transient as line work is.
And Ryan, now let's talk about your Powerline podcast. Who are some of your favorite guests that you've had on your show?
Favorite guests is a tough one because they're like your babies, right? Like, you know, and each one is so unique. And I love everybody's story is unique and different to themselves. They have different things to share. So it's really a wide range of guests I've had to, right from like high level executives, astronaut on the show, really? You know, Shane Kimbrough, shout out to Shane. Shane spent more than 365 days in space at the International Space Station. He's been to space quite a few times.
Wow.
Really great history. So like what he had to share about also like a decorated Army veteran. But yeah, just amazing people. Their stories intrigue me so much, right? Like everyone's got a unique story, unique perspective, whether they're a lineman or astronaut, they all have something to impart. And so that's been really cool. Guests, wide range. That's why I love podcasts, is like you can talk to anybody and you can relate it right back to line work.
So how many episodes have you put out for the Powerline podcast so far?
I think we're at like 160.
Congratulations. That's a lot of episodes. So how long have you been podcasting?
I started it in March of 2019.
Okay, very good.
And I've not kept any particular cadence, but just kept consistent over time. And that's one of the successful things. I think with podcasting, what they say is like 90% of podcasts fail or don't make it past the third episode. So if you're already past the third episode, congratulations.
Yeah, we're at 75 episodes.
You're into the top 10% already. So that's amazing, right?
Yeah. So one of the things I love about podcasting is that I'm a writer and journalist, and I interview people and write stories for the print magazine and for our T&D World website. But for podcasting, you can really hear the emotion behind the voices. You can hear the stories.
Yeah.
So tell me about some of the stories that you've heard on some of these podcasts that you've done.
For sure. The ones that get me the most are the military veterans.
Yes.
You know, just like Madison Jefferson pops to mind. He was a close personal friend. And just like you said, when you sit face to face with somebody and you get them to open up about their background and their stories, even if it's just a little bit, you pick up those nuances that are really hard to deliver in writing. Like, you know, it's hard to get that emotion through in writing. You can do it, but it's difficult. So hands off to you for doing that sort of thing. But like, that's also what I love about podcasting is you can really feel that, you can see that, you can dive in. So military veterans really pop off front of mind. You think about the things that they've gone through, the things that they've seen, the experiences that they bring into life. And that's why they're such a good fit for the trade and the industry as well, is they bring things to the table. Like it takes a person a lifetime to accumulate. They may have spent only a few seasons in the military, few deployments, few years, whatever, but they bring this whole host of things like leadership, communication development, like just these skills that they can bring to the industry are amazing. So they really pop front of mind for me. And then also love business and entrepreneurship and things like that. So getting to talk to people that are like Duke Austin, the CEO of a Fortune 200 company, like seeing his humble beginnings all the way to like where he's at now is amazing to see, right? So to learn from those people too. They have so many lessons that are so important. So yeah, love talking to people.
Yes. You know, when I did interviews and would record them, I was the only one that could hear them. But now through podcasting, now other people can hear the interviews as well, which is really cool. So Ryan, now let's talk about what you're doing with Quanta right now. Are you still working out in the field or do you advise them at all? Or what is your role right now?
No, I'm just full-time in their marketing department, full-time podcast host for now. Just, communication is such an important thing. And I love to see a company like Quanta, and like a lot of others as well, using the tools available now, like the tools like social media, like podcasting, like YouTube, this getting out there and creating a voice and sharing and communicating with people through that method. So, and it's a full-time job just doing that.
Yes, there's a lot of work to put out every episode for sure. And then how do you think a podcast like yours is helping to spread awareness about the line trade? Because I know at the safety conference, we had a lot of pre-apprentices there, which is great. And how do you think your podcast is educating them about what the job and line work are really like?
I think it gives as real of a perspective as the job can be. I think that's what I try to deliver. I try to deliver a very neutral perspective.
Yes.
I don't get too caught up in union, non-union, company, whatever. I want to talk about the person and their story. And I want to deliver that through podcasting so that anybody receiving that or wants to receive it on the other end, they can get a really good grasp on what it's like to live a day in the life, really, because that's what they want to know, right? They want to know, is this trade a fit for me? What is it going to be like in the average day? I try to deliver that through talking to these people. Yeah.
That's fabulous. And then how can our Line Life podcast listeners find your Powerline podcast?
You can find it absolutely everywhere at Powerline Podcast. Just go to YouTube. YouTube's the best now. We have a really great studio. It's a real high production deal, and just trying to really build that up. So Powerline Podcast on YouTube, give us a follow would be great.
So do you do all video interviews then for your podcast?
All video, yeah. Video, and we put them out on audio as well. So yeah,
Okay,
all of the audio, Apple Podcast, Spotify, all of the platforms. You can find us everywhere.
So they can listen to your podcast. That's cool. That's one reason why we started the Line Life podcast is we found that line workers are not sitting in an office all day long like executives, and they're often out on the road, and that way they could listen to stories on the go. I'm sure that your podcast is probably the same way, right? So that they can listen to your episodes wherever they are.
Yep. Guys, I especially a lot of underground crews, I find just put it on as they're doing their job. It's very, very easy. They're in a typical setup, or they're doing terminations or something, and they're in a tent setup or something. So they'll play it in the background, things like that. Or just the guys in the trucks traveling to storm, traveling anywhere, right? You're in your vehicle all day long.
Perfect. And is there anything else you want to say to our Line Life podcast listeners, Ryan?
No, this is great. I love that there's more people doing this. So thank you for podcasting. No, I appreciate it. I was over talking to Raul and Paul as well. And in the beginning, when I was originally on their show, they're like, I hope you don't get upset with us. And I mean, no, how many fitness podcasts are there? Thousands, right? We need more people doing this, not less people. So
totally agree. And I think we can all help each other out because we all have a unique perspective on it. And we all have different guests on, which is really cool. So that's what I feel too. We might as well help each other out.
Yeah, love it. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
This episode of the Line Life podcast was written, recorded, and edited by Amy Fishbach. It was produced by Jeff Postlethwaite. That's me. To listen to past episodes, visit www.tdworld.com/podcasts or find us at Podbean. You could also drop us a voice memo or message at linelifepodcast@gmail.com with your comments on this episode. We'd love to hear from you. Please follow this show on Podbean or your favorite podcasting app to be updated when new episodes are released. Thank you for listening.